It's 8:30 Eastern Time, the only time zone not mad about the upcoming Super Bowl halftime show. That means it's time for C2C Live, brought to you by campus2canton.com. On an abandoned version of tonight's show, we're talking risks of entering the transfer portal. Is the Arkansas head coach job good? Plus, we talk top 25 and whatever else crosses our minds as we sit here. We'll be right back on the other side of the stinger. All right, Chris Kay and Austin Nace here tonight, C2C Live. No Matt Bruning, and for the second week in a row, our planned guest fell through. No, not Kirk Herbstreit.
Or Peter.
Or Peter, as I learned last week, that's his dog. So we'll eventually our special guest will be on. But thank you, Chris, for at least joining me here tonight.
I'm reliable.
Matt's in England.
Matt's got good reason. He's going and experiencing something fun. You know, you can't get mad at him for that. Our special guest, Tisk. Don't hold your breath.
It was his birthday today. Did you know that? That's why he's not here.
That's actually fair then too. Would you want it? On your birthday, would you do it?
C2C I have done this show on my birthday before.
Well, you're a little bit more dedicated than this person, so it is what it is.
He not like his birthday moved. I feel like he knew that it was his birthday when
he's committed to this.
Yeah, I don't know. It's whatever. Well, whatever. We're committed though, and that's the only thing that matters. We'll get into housekeeping in a few minutes here, guys. I do want to lead off this show here with the Makhi Hughes news, and 3 weeks in a row we've gotten a news bomb like a couple hours before we went live, which is pretty cool. Makhi Hughes. I guess Oregon announced today that he has requested to take a red shirt this year. It means he's not going to play the rest of the season. It's unclear whether that means that he's going to enter the transfer portal or not. You'd have to think that there's a high likelihood that he will be, with how much playing time he's received this year and the young backs in that backfield with him. So, I mean, I guess my first question for you, Chris, how did you see this coming at all coming into the year?
Not at all. No. This was like a guy I have a ton of on Underdog for best ball drafts, and thankfully I spread out all my top round running backs, but which has been unfortunate to begin with. But I don't think anybody could have, right? Like, I mean, I think there were some doubters of like the G5 to P4, which is fair with him moving from Tulane up. But like Tulane's a legitimate program, like they play legitimate teams. I think people were more worried about Hardy, and that worked out. I mean, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But I don't think anybody could have seen this coming. Like Noah Whittington is fine as a running back. All these other guys had never really made a name for themselves. You know, they gave us the coach speak. I never believed it. You know, hey, I wish we had 2 footballs is what the running back coach said, right? Like, I didn't buy it because that's just kind of how that kind of coach speak goes. And sure enough, I should have bought it because he was like the 5th or 6th running back on the depth chart. So, he's. I can't imagine he's not transferring. I mean, all those, like you kind of mentioned, right? All these guys are young. It feels like everybody is a freshman or sophomore in that room. Like, why would you stay? So it'll be interesting to see where he goes next.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. There are 4 running backs on the roster with more carries than him. Plus, Dante Moore actually has more rushing attempts than him this season as well, which I don't think I would have put money on coming into the year. So yeah, I mean, I'm shocked. There are so many different rumors about what has been the issue there. So I don't really want to sit here and we'll pretend like we know what it is. Some people are saying, you know, there were issues with learning the playbook and stuff. I do think there's just a risk when you go somewhere else that you don't acclimate. You know, who knows? Do you think he goes back to Tulane, or do you think that's what he considers doing? Or do you think he could go back? I don't think he could. I mean, the couple of guys have done the old my bad, but I don't think he could do that. Yeah, I think isn't their head coach at Tulane kind of a guy that's considered to move up? Is that Summerall? Yeah.
Maybe at a new place, Summerall can forgive it, but I think there's a lot of pieces that have to forgive if it's back at Tulane. If it's Summerall, a couple coaches, I think it makes it a little bit easier. You don't have to worry about player buy-in and stuff like that. But I don't know. Me personally, I don't think he'd go back to Tulane. I think he could find another P4 spot.
Yeah, I think. I mean, it's so tough to tell. You know, I bet he's already reached out to Summerall, if I had to guess, and spoken to him. Not even like a take me back, like a what should I do? Maybe.
What do you think? Yeah. I mean, everybody's done that, right? Gotten fired and then going back to their old job and say, like, just kidding. Like, maybe. What do you think? Maybe go back. But
you've never left a place willingly and like still had a relationship with like a manager.
I've done both. I've literally gotten laid off after 4 days and went back to my old boss and was like, maybe, just kidding. And that didn't work out, but it was good. It was good. It was what was needed. And then, I think I talked to old bosses and use them as like sounding boards and stuff like that. I don't put it past them at all. I mean, and I'm sure he's also kind of said, hey, what do you think about like rejoining at some point if we do go to a new spot? I mean, he'd be crazy not to. Do you think Makhi Hughes, he doesn't pop in terms of our athletic stuff, right? Like,
no, he's not an amazing athlete. I think he's like average. I don't have it. Actually, I do have it. I always have this tool open. He's actually 78th percentile. I thought he was like 50th, 60th. So that's actually pretty darn good. 5'10", 210, good speed, good acceleration, good multi-sport.
Oregon, to me, feels like the team that would care so much about athleticism. That like they need burners. They want guys that are freaks, the tall and fast, that type of thing, like RAS score, amazing players. Part of me is like, did he just go to practice and like look fine, not really pop, and then maybe they just said, you know what, like let's go with any of these other guys that maybe do jump out of the screen, right? But I don't know. I mean, it's all, like you said, it's all pretty much guesses to like why this happened, how it happened.
Yeah, the staff has been pretty consistent saying they want to ride the hot hand, and I do think that's been borne out the first few weeks of the season. I just think it's been hard to see a pattern per se because they've just been crushing teams up until this week. It was like, are they riding hot hand? Is it just they're rotating 6 guys through? It's been, I think that's made it really difficult to kind of get a read on the whole situation. But it has been why I've been a little hesitant to drop him like in long-term forward-looking rankings, because I still think he's a good player. And I still I was like, even if he's not at Oregon next year, I think he can go somewhere else and be awesome. And he can buy the dip right now and have a pretty good player next year. I would imagine he's a lot more cautious about where he chooses next time. I mean, maybe not, but you would assume.
Yeah, I think that's a wise decision. I mean, in this day and age, just because you're not playing right now doesn't mean you can't be super valuable. I think more than ever, you need to buy the player talent than scheme and all that, because things can change year over year. I saw like in Discord this past week, people were talking about Minnesota versus Ohio State in terms of like, who would you take the quarterback wise? Did you see that conversation?
Yeah, they're talking Drake Lindsey versus Julian Sayin, but then it kind of turned into a more nebulous like
pivoted. Yeah, I think that how I felt it started in the core of the conversation was like, we all, like certain guys were bought into Drake Lindsey and thought he was really talented. And then like Julian Sayin's good, but it's more system. And, hey, if you want to buy Drake Lindsey because you think he's very good, there's definitely a possibility somewhere else. And so like that makes him valuable, even if he just stays at Minnesota, not so valuable for CFF, but maybe for NFL. But I think more than ever, you're buying player, you're not buying system. I mean, like 10 years ago in CFF Dynasty, I mean, I'm sure you remember it. Like you just literally drafted the next Washington State receiver. Like you just drafted the 4 freshmen at Baylor, right? Like, and so in a way, I think it's really made things more challenging just from because you have to be better than ever when it comes to player evaluation, which is like insane when you think about 18-year-olds. But it's interesting how this all shook out.
Do you think the edge is decreasing a little bit on that side of things? I know this is like a totally different discussion than what we were just talking about, but I know not to air anybody's laundry, I'm not going to attach any numbers to anything or who said what, but I know there was a discussion in the Slack recently about this being people's not best years in terms of props.
Everything's every facet of fantasy, at least for college, to me has gotten harder. I think books are better. I think more information's out there. I think there's more subs to any of many different places, Campus Scan, Fantasy Points, CFF site, etc. Like that, people are just know what they're doing. I think everything's much harder. You can't, sleepwalk your way to the playoffs and championships and things like that. And books are they're just so much better. They're quick to react to markets. They do their whole like follow the bet. They'll let 1 or 2 people get down on a bad line and then they fix it pretty quickly, which is honestly not a bad strategy by them. But yeah, it's everything's much tougher. Would you say the same?
I would. I think I guess I probably haven't quite been playing college fantasy adjacent formats as long as you have. I date back to, I believe, like 2018. So still a decent chunk of time. And yeah, if you really wanted to compete like college side of a C2C league, it was pretty easy to make a pretty big push. And now I think there's still people that don't care about it, that don't treat, the college side of a C2C league like it's worth competing for. But I think the information edge is significantly less now, for sure. The damn G5 Hive guys have ruined everything, really. I think that's where the problem all started. Those two digging into stuff and, putting all that good info out there. How dare they?
I think it's a great thing, right? I know you.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I know you feel the same way. We're all having fun with Justice and them, but yeah, there's more people covering more things, right? Like G5 Hive taking being ambitious enough to do it, putting in insane work. I know, just talking to Justice alone, like, I mean, that man is going crazy in terms of getting stuff done and working insane hours to get this type of content out, and it's producing better results for people and making things much tougher. Putting guys on Raiders that you would have never even considered, because the G5 is the area where you could take advantage of things because information's so limited, but they've done an incredible job. So obviously I think everybody would say kudos to them.
Yep, 100%. So just, do you have a prediction for Makhi Hughes? I wanted to throw it out there.
I all I could say is that he transfers. I have no idea where. It's fresh enough. You don't even know where he's from. Like, so we'll see.
I think he's from down near like Tulane. I think like he was like a somewhat local kid, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, this type of thing
Birmingham,
is southeast. This is really a bummer, but honestly, it's the real world, man. You hate this for a 20-year-old having to learn on the fly like this, but like, I just turned 37. That's just kind of how life is. You take a shot, you take a chance. Sometimes the extra money isn't worth it because of other pieces of the pie, right? And he's learned kind of the hard way. You feel for him. I definitely wish he would have, I wish he would be playing and be successful and he'd get everything he wants, but it's just how life goes. Sometimes it's a bummer, but I mean, I'm sure you would agree, Austin, like sometimes grass isn't always greener. There's other pieces that should play more of an impact than money. And I don't know if that's why he transferred there to begin with. Opportunity sounds cool as well. I mean, like, to say you played running back for Oregon is always awesome. But yeah, sometimes it comes with negatives and risks and things like that are that can take a toll on you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to depend what he's looking for. But just one school that I think was really hunting around heavy for a running back the past recruiting cycle and has not gotten one, and I don't think they will, that I think would be really interesting. Tennessee, I think, would be a really interesting spot for him.
Yeah, it's close to Birmingham. Yep. Yeah, I mean, they've done well with guys that I think are very average-ish, right? Star Thomas and is it Peyton Jones and Deshaun Bishop?
Peyton Lewis, yeah.
Peyton Lewis.
Yeah. So, like, literally every running back that's come through there since Heupel's been there, like, hasn't been that long. To be honest, Dylan Sampson, I don't think he's that great. Who's the dude that went to the Dolphins last year that everybody
Jalen
loved?
Wright.
Yeah, like, I don't think he's anything special. I mean, yeah, they'll make chicken salad out of,
Do you think Tennessee's too big though? Like, I mean, coming from Oregon, you couldn't find the field. I think there's a little bit of staying there, right? You're the fifth running back on Oregon. Like, what do you know? You gotta hope that he has a good relationship with Dan Lanning, because people are going to call Dan Lanning and be like, "What's the scoop?" Right? I'm sure there's friends in the coaching community. I'm sure Tennessee probably doesn't care at all about Oregon as competition and vice versa. So there was not an issue with maybe trading some knowledge there. But yeah, you'd hope that they end on good terms, because coach is going to come calling and be like, "Why did this guy not play? Like, what's the deal?"
The really interesting thing that I think we don't have a good grasp on yet is how the NIL and the rev share stuff is going to impact retention efforts by certain coaches and how they're going to choose to allocate money. I think a guy like him, who's been really proven at the college level, like, I don't think a lot of coaches are going to bat an eye per se, unless they just hear unless there's bad stuff behind the scenes, which, I mean, hasn't trickled public yet. Maybe it does. maybe there is, who knows. But I do think there's going to be a lot of these guys where they, it looks like a crowded room at Tennessee right now. If they have the chance to get Makhi Hughes or, a player like that, they might just say, like, we're not going to pay you guys next year. You can go find a new home. Or I think we're going to see a lot more of like squeezed out, go find a new home stuff. We've got a new big man on campus now. And
that's what comes with the territory.
Happening. I think it's already happening a little bit. So
yeah, the money piece of this whole thing is getting very interesting. I don't know how much how good I feel about it as a Virginia Tech fan, because of what Virginia Tech's basically saying is like, oh, you want to sit out and not be available to play, then you don't get money from us. Like, you're kind of voiding that contract, that NIL contract, which I'm interested in your take on that conversation that was more popular last week, surrounding players that wanted to redshirt, sit out and not play. And if they're should be getting the money that they originally signed for.
Yeah. I mean, I think the pay for play stuff is, you can't, you at least purportedly can't pay to play. At the same time, I think that you could certainly craft an interesting argument, although I haven't sat down and tried to play around with the wording, where if you don't want to do anything, but you're just begging to continue to be affiliated with the team, but have none of the responsibilities in order to keep getting paid, then aren't you kind of asking for pay to play? Like, if you don't want to be on the team anymore, then you don't want to be on the team anymore. I think there's some different arguments I think you could potentially craft around that.
Yeah. And what type of name, image, and likeness are you providing?
Well, yeah, exactly.
If you're not even participating on the field in warm-ups. Yeah. But yeah, it's a really interesting thing. I'm curious to see how that all shakes out with some of these VT guys. And I'm sure it's going to come into play. I mean, if Jay Knott did it, right, he's like $1 million guy, right? Like, if Jay Knott did it, redshirt and sat out, it's a lot of money. Like, if I'm OU, there's a shot I'm saying, you know what, you showed up, this happened, and you want to bail. Not saying obviously that's just a guy that popped up, but it's an interesting argument both ways.
I wonder if I'm just curious how hyper specific, if you can't do pay for play, some of these contracts are going to get until there's some sort of players association or some sort of collective bargaining agreement where I know the big one was that kind of PF schools had introduced to nullify some of the stuff was well, you have to be here in this spot on this date to do X. And if you've transferred or you've gone somewhere else, obviously you can't be there to do it. So you're not going to get paid. But if guys are just sitting out the rest of the season but still want to get paid, I wonder if you could be well, you have to be on the field on game day to do X, Y, and Z, but we're only letting guys that are willing to play and suit up and are game ready on the I wonder how that cat and mouse game,
how deep of a rabbit hole are we going to get? Yeah, it's an interesting part to it. We'll see what happens. All of it's brand new, so we're going to hear and see stuff that we never would have considered, never would have even thought about, because this 100%. Is the first couple of years of it.
As someone from a poor school, as a Pitt fan, it
couldn't
make
be
me feel too great.
Couldn't be me. Newly rich Virginia Tech Hokies.
Hey, nothing's been approved yet, has it?
It just went through yesterday. It was approved.
Okay.
It was 13-1. The one person said no because they didn't want tuition, student fees, to go up $1,000 a year or something stupid. Just nothing. Would you have paid? I mean, in hindsight, in college, $1,000 is pretty big. But I don't remember the exact. Let's say it was $500. You told me $500 when my team is good at football. That's pretty big. I'll take that. That's a pretty sweet deal.
It's tough because it's a little more complicated for me because my undergrad institution is a really small school that is, I don't know how many people know this, so I'll try to keep it, is not good at football and hasn't been since the 70s, but they were awesome in the 70s. And you want to know who their coach was? Jerry Sandusky.
No.
Pre-Penn State, pre all that stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
My alma mater was very good. And actually, it's funny because he applied. Part of the reason he got caught again, is because he was applying for stuff at JC and they did a background check and stuff popped up and they were
this is odd.
So,
interesting. I would have put that in the back pocket myself, but
I wasn't there at the time, and to my knowledge, I don't think they've ever said or heard that anything happened there. Who knows? But So yes, so they weren't like, but I wouldn't have been happy to like see my shitty D3 football team be good. And by the time I got to Pitt, like I was in law school, like it's not like I was free to follow the stuff that closely anyway at that point. So
much different, right? Like I think if you're at like a P4 program that's got like a good football team, we had great years at Virginia Tech. It was awesome. And like it totally did not, I mean, I didn't pay any of my school fees until after school, so it wouldn't have mattered. But like in hindsight, I would have been, yeah, like let's do it. But yeah, Virginia Tech's rich. Ipso facto, snip snap, we're rich.
So picturing that meme, the Always Sunny meme, where they're like, "Oh, are you so poor?" or whatever. That's Chris Kay as he walked onto the show today. Yep. Pitt doesn't have money. Couldn't be me.
Let's we don't have a show sheet, so let me take over for a second. Now that we're talking Pitt, what do you think about Pat Narduzzi? What's the situation? Are you guys just kind of, oh God, I just said something. I said a bad word in the A words. My little echo dot's going. Pat Narduzzi, are you like pretty happy with it? Or
his internet in the
Are we back? You're frozen. Am I frozen?
Did I drop?
I think you might. I think you dropped. I think you froze, but I don't know what that. I never know what it means. But what I was trying to say was Pat Narduzzi.
Yeah.
Are we happy? Is that just kind of like what we're doing at Pitt? Like that's just kind of what the status quo is going to be, and we're content with that. What's kind of the vibe on Pat Narduzzi?
I think he's a decent coach. Like I see lists that float around. They're like top 50, FBS coaches or whatever. I think, and he's like never on it. I think he's like a top 50 coach. Like probably not that much past 50, but I think he's a pretty decent coach. I think he does about as well for Pitt as what the program can do right now with the money that we have. Like, I mean, that's just the nature of things. I think the only other, if you fire him, I think you have to go in the exciting 30-year-old offensive coordinator and hope that they build something, but you're not going to hold on to that guy if you're Pitt anyway. So then you're going to be back to square one in 2 or 3 years anyway. I mean, realistically, before Virginia Tech was rich, the Virginia Techs and Pitts of the world, you weren't that much better on that side of things than like North Texas. Like if you have an exciting coach, you can't really hold on to him that long.
That's the problem with those types of situations, is that like your best case becomes a worst case in 3 to 5 years. Right. And I will say, speaking from experience, the names out there just are not exciting.
No.
For programs of the ilk of like Pitt, Virginia Tech, East Coast type schools. Like it just nothing feels all that exciting. So yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it's like you run the risk of creating an even worse situation than what you already have.
Exactly. So I mean, I'm fine with them. I'm fine with them. I wish we had a little more money. That's if we did, maybe I'd be interested in going a different route. But yeah. So
maybe it's time you start giving back. Do you get the
after
flyers
I pay
in the
off
mail?
the initial lump sum, I'll pay back more. How it sounds like a deal. When I'm about 60, 65, 70.
Yeah, I love Virginia's like never giving any more money back to them. Never. And if I did, I would make it pointed. You have the ability to do like baseball program or something. I would only do that. Like, what's my $20 gonna do anyways? I
do give to my undergrad institution, alma mater. Not like a lot, because I still owe them money too. But I give them a little something, and I always like say like it has to go towards soccer since that's what I played when I was there. So
yeah, I think makes sense.
Yeah. So, speaking of jobs that may or may not be good, let's talk about Arkansas. Arkansas finally fired Sam Pittman this week. I think this was the deadest of dead man walking scenarios that I've seen in quite some time. I think everybody knew that this was going to happen sooner or later. I mean, Bobby Petrino filling in as the head coach, I think is interesting, and maybe we can talk about that a little bit. I don't know. Maybe if you don't find that interesting, then whatever, we can just not talk about it. But Pittman, was about 500 during his time there. That kind of feels like almost best case scenario at Arkansas right now with how difficult their schedule is on a yearly basis. There's been a lot of argument in the Campus to Canton Discord. Is it a good job? Is it a bad job? What coaches would leave their current spot to go there? I mean, what do you think about Arkansas as it relates to similar jobs, other SEC jobs, whatever.
Do you know the money situation in Arkansas? Are they like a Pitt? Or are they kind of newly rich like Virginia Tech? Are they in the middle? Do we have an idea of where that stands? I don't usually follow that
They're
pretty
not
well.
they're not newly rich. They actually have some huge benefactors that choose or have been choosing lately not to give them any money, or at least not money earmarked specifically.
They're not going to support Sam Pittman, but they might support someone new.
Potentially. That's like the argument that a lot of people have been saying, because I know a lot of them spend up to get John Calipari in there and kind of get the basketball program revived. And I guess their baseball team's good. I mean, you could not pay me to be interested in college baseball. No offense, Chris, but the people that are real into it is always crazy to me. But yeah, like they have Jerry Jones, the Waltons, like the Walmart Waltons, although I guess like some of them are actually tied to Missouri now as the younger generations come through. And Tyson, like Tyson Chicken and all that stuff, are all Arkansas people. So I think hypothetically the money is there. I guess I guess the argument is that if you find somebody that energizes that base, then you can get some money. But I'm also like, I don't think that's always a guarantee. And with money that's kind of strings attached like that, always makes me a little iffy in terms of like what's gonna consistently be there down the line.
I mean, from a coach aspect, there's nothing better than getting fired, right?
Oh,
so dude, I think if you're a coach, if you're a candidate, you're in. I think it's good and bad, and I'm going to cop out here. It's good because if the money is there, let's say this is a program in the SEC that like is big, right? Like if you win games, you're going to make the playoff. Like there's no doubt about it, right? There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like if you are successful at Arkansas, you're winning games, you're going to make the playoff, and if the money continues to roll in, like where else would you go besides like an alma mater or like a even bigger program, like a big time program? It's SEC. It's bad because if you're not any good, you're going to get canned real quick. This schedule is brutal every year. They just announced I guess a week or two ago, they announced like the rival every year opponents. Arkansas's are LSU, Missouri, and Texas. I mean, there's not really a way to avoid like these big teams, but like signing up for a guarantee of LSU and Texas every year, plus Missouri, who's always very solid at the very least, not great. And so I think from that angle, there's a lot of light on you. You're not going to hide. If you're not good, you're going to get smoked. But Arkansas had so many cool, iconic teams for so many years that it's really a bummer to see them be so far off the map. And but I do think it's a good job, assuming there's some money support you talk about, because I think you're on a big stage. I mean, if you win 10, 11 games, like why are you any different than Ole Miss? You know, like and Ole Miss gets a lot of TV and popularity, and they're in the news and things like that. So like to me, I think Arkansas is a very good job. It's just a matter of like, can they find somebody that's going to compete with this schedule year in and year out?
Yeah, the Cover 3 guys were talking about it, how they haven't really been doing themselves any favors because they schedule pretty tough non-con, and then they always are going to have, as you just mentioned, moving forward, a pretty tough schedule year in, year out. Like for any of those bottom couple of schools in the SEC, it's tough because you don't get to play yourself. Like there's only so many bad programs in the SEC. I mean, really Kentucky, Vanderbilt generally, I know they're, started off hot this year. Mississippi State and Arkansas are probably the worst four right now. Like, I mean, other teams can maybe fluctuate. South Carolina, maybe you can argue them and Arkansas are close there, but like you can't play yourself, and all of a sudden like that just narrows the pool of easy games every year. So they had mentioned, doing themselves some more favors on the scheduling front would potentially be a little more helpful, guarantee themselves an extra 1 to 2 games. I mean, they just had Notre Dame come to town and got smacked. If they schedule Kent State, maybe Sam Pittman's not fired, and maybe we're having a different discussion until next week.
But. Yeah, I will say that's a really good point. This non-con stuff is not great. They play like at Utah next year.
Yeah.
They have Oklahoma State 2027, but that's different now. At Notre Dame, Utah again, Memphis and Texas Tech. Like, Texas Tech's not the biggest, best team ever, but they seem to be really like going all in on NIL. I can only imagine the very least they're going to have a very solid team. That's just not really what you should be doing in the SEC. Like you kind of mentioned, like schedule someone that's closer to no shot at Memphis, but closer to Memphis than Notre Dame. Give yourself at least a shot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, they lost to Memphis this year too. So,
Right.
Yeah. I do think it's a good job, to kind of circle back to like the heart of my original question. I think the bigger things that hurt them, besides like just some of that strategic stuff, is actually just the fact that Arkansas high school football is not bad, but it's not nearly as good as the states around them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if for them to be successful, I think you have to go into Texas and pull guys out of there. You have to go into Alabama and Georgia and pull guys out of there. And they haven't really done that consistently. I think that's at the heart of the issue for them. And also the fact that I think there's a lot of I don't think other schools in the SEC really care about them. Like, who is Arkansas's biggest rival?
It's got to be LSU, I think, right? The Golden Boot, I think is what that is.
And what are they in terms of LSU's biggest rivals? They ain't first.
It's always that
second.
That's that always game of like, who do we care about the most type of thing. You get that in the Big Ten a lot too.
Yeah, I think that can hurt schools too.
But does that change if Arkansas wins 10 games 3 years in a row? Like, does that change for LSU if 3 years in a row they win 10 games, they beat LSU in some big games that keep them from playoffs or keep them from the SEC championship? A lot of times, right, it's just more a matter of like success, right? Like Michigan fans run into this with Ohio State and Michigan State. Ohio State's the biggest game of them all, but would Michigan State be the biggest one of them all if they just consistently won 10 and 11 games? I think that changes because the hate is definitely there. It's just a matter of like, Michigan State has, compared to Ohio State, not performed the same.
It's a really good question. I think in that scenario, Alabama would have to fall off for them to be number one. Because I think LSU fans would say Bama is probably their biggest rival, right?
They just have had so many big games with so much on the line so consistently. Yeah.
And aren't they?
And a lot of cool experiences like night games at LSU and things like that have really played a huge impact.
Aren't they one of like the 3 guaranteed matchups for each other moving forward, Alabama and LSU, I think? That's certainly going to. Yeah, I keep getting.
I heard you, but you froze at the very end. That was not a very good face for you. So hopefully everybody listens to this episode on Spotify. But I don't know. I would imagine Alabama has to be one of the 3 for LSU. Yeah. But I don't know for sure. I didn't really dig too much into that.
So we have tried to play the matchmaking game with the other jobs that have opened up so far. I mean, do you have a good name for this one? Bobby Petrino full-time round.
You can't possibly do Bobby Petrino again. You can't do that. You just really can't. I feel like he's pushing his way into that, but I think you can't do that. Somebody said Jimbo Fisher, which I think is bad idea. But it's not the worst idea. Deion Sanders apparently interviewed for this job back before he got the Colorado job.
Jesus.
Who are the names? I don't know. There's just. It felt like for a while there was always like the hot button, big kind of like buzzworthy name in OCs, DCs, your random G5, but like besides GJ Kinney, maybe like Arbuckle, like who is like the kind of like the cool young coordinator name that is and I know Kinney because it's head coach, but like who fits that mold of either of those right now? It doesn't feel like there's a lot of them.
No, there really doesn't. I do think there are some more interesting, already head coach names surfacing for them than there were for like Virginia Tech, for UCLA. So I do think like from that perspective, I think it shows that it is a better job than those places, especially if you mentioned before, if you're still getting paid, if you get fired, then, whatever. Ain't nothing
even more
to you.
Incentive. Who are the names that you've seen?
Rhett Lashley, the SMU coach, because he's got some ties to Arkansas, seems to be one that's floating around a lot. And then I think that sparked some discussions about what's a better program right now, SMU.
I saw Arkansas. That conversation. Yeah,
I do think SMU is better because there's a lot less unrealistic pressure to win there. They have money and they have an easier schedule every year. Like they can compete for the ACC while not like. Arkansas could recruit a top 20 class every year and still be like the 8th best team in the SEC. If you recruit a top 20 class at SMU, you're at worst like the 2nd best team in the ACC.
Yeah, I think SMU is a better job. I mean, what is it? The only thing it doesn't have is like the SEC name, right? Like the only thing that could possibly make that a worse job is some realignment stuff and the changes in college football that impact how that all plays out, where ECC teams are a little bit less relevant. But it's a lot of like hypotheticals, right? You sign me up for an ACC schedule every day of the week, right? So I think SMU is a better job just from that standpoint, because you also have the money. You have Texas recruiting. There's a lot of pros there that help.
Yeah, this does also feel like a good spot for like a guy like Fran Brown.
You wonder what Fran Brown's all about. I really like Fran Brown. I have no idea what he cares about. Like, what is he a jump ship type? Is he like, because I think there's a little bit of a connection to Syracuse, right? Like, or the area. Isn't he from Jersey or something like that?
Yeah, he's from, I think, the Jersey area. Yeah.
But like, there's a little bit of value in Syracuse, I think, from that angle. But like, how much does he really care about that, right? Because he was at Georgia beforehand, correct? He was at Georgia beforehand, correct?
He was at Georgia before, yeah.
So does he have that itch to get back in the SEC, and does he use Arkansas as a stepping stone? That's like a possibility you could see, but I don't know. I don't know anything about what Fran Brown cares about.
I don't either. Just feels like a kind of place that he could go and find some oddball dudes and crank out 9 wins in like his second year there. I don't know.
I would believe it. I mean, I think he's a great coach. So
I was highly skeptical of him at Syracuse. I was like, this feels like one of those moves that like he wins 3 games in 2 years, and you're like, of course that didn't work out. That was stupid.
Because he was like a DB coach or something, right? He wasn't like a coordinator or anything like that,
right? And he had some good like recruiting pedigree or whatever. Like he was thought to be like a pretty good recruiter, but even then you always were like, well, yeah, I think any idiot could recruit Georgia at some sort of decent level. It becomes a lot more difficult when you're at Syracuse. So he could be like a guy like that. I think would be really cool at Arkansas as well. But I don't know. Like he might, if you're him and if this is how we're talking about him, public, like just general, people, I would be holding out for something even cooler than Arkansas. No offense to Arkansas, Auburn.
Agreed.
Like if Auburn opened up, I think that would be a more interesting job. And there's like some likelihood that could happen with how things are going there right now. So like I think there are jobs that would be more interesting that would get back channeled to him early enough to figure out if he's interested.
Yeah, and if he likes Syracuse and where he's at for what it is, then he could spend another year or two there and be perfectly content and happy, see how things shake out, and then make a move when the right job is calling.
Nobody, I think, like enjoys living in Syracuse. I don't know. I mean, except for Jim Boeheim, but they let him run a dude over with his car. So like, I think that he was kind of allowed to do whatever he wanted there.
I didn't think we were going to go there on this episode, but we did.
Oh, Hunter, F Jim Boeheim, man. I'm a big Pitt basketball fan growing up. Like, yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. I'm not a fan. By the way, in other firing news, did you see that UCLA let go of Tino Sunseri either yesterday or today?
I did not. Because that'll solve everything.
I mean, it's really interesting because he was thought to be this hotshot OC coming in there, and he's gone after 5 games. I mean, they haven't been good. I don't know that it's his fault.
Is this his second year or was it his first year?
Pretty sure this is his first year. I think he was with Indiana last year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. They've put up 10, 23, 10, and 14 points.
Against really good teams, too, like Northwestern and New Mexico and UNLV.
Yeah, that's a tough shake, man. I think everybody kind of just guessed he'd be really good because it's Sunseri, but because of Signetti, but probably not. I mean, how much do you think Nico played into that, or is that?
I think 0. Well, not. No.
I'm sorry. How much of the lack of success is because of Nico, not the firing, the lack of success?
I think Nico, I haven't heard or seen anything this year that indicates to me that he's like given up. So at least like on that side of things, I just think they have not a lot of talent at all across that whole team. I know people kind of were saying like there is some talent there. Like who are the good players offensively on that team?
Quasi? And people really like Javion Thomas. I know Froton had a lot of like
I like Javion Thomas too.
Underlying metrics, which I think all made a ton of sense, and he's been underwhelming.
But the line isn't good, so like it just doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just think there's like no talent on the team. Actually, the stink from that is so bad that I don't think much of it like stays on or comes at, like the smell is so bad that people aren't going to think that much of it came from Tino Sinceri. I think he's going to be able to rebound mostly fine.
Yeah, I mean, O-line can really mess things up. I mean, think about how much talent Auburn has and how they can't do anything offensively because someone's in Jackson Arnold's face within 1.5 seconds every single time. And they're always in 3rd and 9.
Is Connor Lubin out, or did he get injured at one point? Their center, I thought I saw he went down in one of the games I was watching, but I didn't know if he was back or not.
My Auburn fandom is so loose. I would trade a lot of things. Like Auburn championship would mean like very, 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 very little to me. It would only matter in the fact that like my wife would be happier for the first half that she watched.
It should be a little higher up your list than I feel like.
I mean, you make me bet some props and it goes another way. I care more about that than Auburn. The fact that people think I'm an Auburn fan is there's an Auburn guy right here.
Yeah.
Is more just because my in-laws are there and they live there and I like the town. And we used to have season tickets when they were good. But it truly doesn't matter to me. But yeah, I think what a collection of incredible talent that has done absolutely nothing.
Yeah. All right, I guess we're going to get the top 25 here. I don't think we have any other topics unless there was something that or anything that happened this week that you were, I mean, the games that happened, anything like that.
Well, -O- says, how about King Coleman to Michigan? What do you think about that? I don't know how that popped up, but I mean, Michigan needs a receiver. At some point, Michigan has to take like receivers seriously, right?
You would think. And they don't have anybody coming in next year's class really from like recruiting standpoint either. At least nobody that like you'd expect to come in day one and kind of, take the room. Does Michigan actually have a lot of football money? My understanding of the Underwood thing was that was kind of like a one-time deal from Larry Olson. I don't know that well you can go back and get more out of. I mean, are there other spots that you could afford that? Because I saw people banding about like, $2 or $3 million for him. That's not insignificant.
There's got to be money there somewhere. I think there is money for sure. It's just a matter of how much. I mean, the basketball team rakes in like stud recruits and transfers and things like that. So you'd have to think the football team can get a piece of money if they need it.
The thing about basketball though is that like $2 million, if it gets a stud, like that matters so much more unless it's a quarterback,
right?
And like pretty much any spend on football.
I think maybe for Michigan what they value is so much different than what we value, right? Like I think they value linemen and defense way more than they value a receiver. But maybe that changes when Underwood's older and they're still winning 7-8 games because all they can do is run the football. But you never know. I mean, Cam Coleman on Michigan would be cool, but I don't know how like fantasy cool that would be. He's still a freshman quarterback.
I have a better spot for him. Texas.
Feels like that fits, right?
Or honestly, do you want to talk about the nouveau rich Texas Tech?
I mean, they're all money's money, so
Will Hammond's looked good. That's the next guy there.
You surprised by how willing and able of a runner he is?
Yes. Yes.
Because he looks like me. He's gingery.
Oh, okay. That's why you're shocked. He didn't do it at all in high school, really. So
I don't think anybody ever talked about him as like an athlete like that. I always just thought he was just like incredible arm at Texas Tech. Immediately, I think like passer. And then I see him and he's a ginger and I'm like, oh yeah, he's got to be just a passer. And then he's playing against Utah, just running draws and quarterback dives and stuff like that. And he looked very good at it.
Was not a prolific runner in high school. And yeah, I think the way you described him, the Texas Tech recruited a very specific subset of quarterback for like a 6-year stretch there. Baron Morton, like and what we thought Hammond was kind of in that same bucket. Pocket guy, pretty decent arm, going to get by on his on that pocket. How he can operate in the pocket. I'm shocked, and I was also shocked by Dante Moore's running this weekend too. Like he wasn't awesome, but he looked competent at it against Penn State. That really, really surprised me. I don't know if you noted that at all watching that game.
He seems more, I don't know maybe we just totally missed on that class from like a pure talent perspective and like an archetype perspective. But he has looked good running, which has come out of left field.
Yeah, the announcers were like, he's a good runner. I was like, that's racist as all get out. And then he takes off. I'm like, okay, I guess I was wrong.
Maybe I was the one wrong there. But yeah, I wasn't sure how much they'd want him to run or like try to run him. But it seems like he's just done a very good job of like knowing when to run scrambles and things like that.
Yeah, he's been pretty effective. Yeah. All right. Mike did confirm it was me that dropped out earlier. So what does he know? All right. So no Matt this week on the top 25. It's just you and me, Chris. So one less, fewer. I don't know. Input into the rankings this week. But we still have the same 1-2, Ohio State, Oregon. That has not changed at all. You, though, did flip them. You had Ohio State 1 last week, and now you have Oregon number 1. Do you want to?
I thought I'd shake it up a little bit. Yeah, I thought I'd shake it up a little bit. I mean, it's razor thin. Zero issue with one way or the other. I'm just going to reward Oregon going on the road, whiteout, night game at Penn State, pulling off, like losing the lead, but then pulling it off in overtime. Like I just was very impressed, and I'm not like the biggest Penn State fan, as people know. But Ohio State had a great win. I was definitely under the impression that Washington would keep it even closer. They're not as quite close as I thought they were. And then, Ohio State's other win is Texas at home. But, there's something about winning. What did they win against Texas? Like 10-7 or something?
14-7, I think. Yeah.
Something about winning 14-7 versus winning like 31-24. Like when you win 14-7, to me, it doesn't like rub off as like a really great performance. Week 1, so it is what it is. But yeah, I just put Ohio State 2 and Oregon 1. Luckily for us, we'll get a matchup of that before the season's end, and we'll have it play out. But yeah, I think those are, to me, like the clear top 2.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty big gap between that. I know Matt's ranked them 1-2 the past couple weeks. I would anticipate, I'm comfortable speaking for him on this one, that I think he'd have them 1-2 again. And he was actually the only one of us that had Oregon at 1 last week. So I can't imagine that he would have strayed from that after a nice win. I will say I actually weirdly was probably more impressed with Ohio State's win this weekend.
That's also a different, tough matchup in a different way. But yeah, it was a good win for sure.
Yeah. I mean, they had some mess ups and they still just kind of crushed them. Like,
did you see what was up with the Washington fake field goal? Did you see that?
Wait, no, I missed that they ran a fake field goal. Was that actually a fake or did they flub it?
I think people believe it was a fake. I mean,
because kicker, like nobody ran a route. Right?
Nobody ran
a route.
Throw
and no one was there. So I was like, oh, like that was just a fire drill. Like they just messed it up.
I don't think it was a fire drill. I think it was a pure miscommunication on like what was happening, whether the offensive line and tight ends didn't get it or what. But yeah, it was a fake. I'm fairly positive.
Yeah. I guess I hadn't thought about it since then because I had forgotten about it until you said that. Yeah, just when I was watching, I was like, oh, they fumbled that snap. Or
yeah,
I missed the snap, so I saw him throw it to nobody. But yeah, I thought Ohio State was. I mean, I don't think at any point in that game I felt like Washington was in it.
It really felt like they just were, as long as Ohio State didn't give up like a special teams or defensive touchdown, like Washington really did not have a shot at winning.
No, they were just hanging on for dear life. And I will actually give props to DeMond Williams because I thought he actually he didn't have any back-breaking stuff in this game. Like he was actually pretty decent within the confines of what was happening.
Yeah, I continue to be impressed by him. Like I have said, I just think he has the juice. Like he's he moves at a little bit of a different speed than many other guys on the field.
Yeah, he's really, really good. You have Texas A&M 3, and I have Miami 3. I think, in my opinion, those are the only two teams that I think like those two teams are the next two that you can argue, right?
Yeah, I think just from a resume standpoint, it's hard to disagree with those two in the next two.
Indiana
A&M
maybe too.
Yeah, I think Indiana gets a bad rap just for like the lack of competitive games, but now they are playing competitive games and they're pulling wins out. So they're definitely like I don't have them as high as you do, which we can talk about here in a second. But I think at this point, I just from what I've seen standpoint, to me A&M looks better than Miami, but again, it's razor thin. Both have beaten Notre Dame in different ways, you could say. But also A&M did on the road, maybe a little bit of a slight, value add there for them. But on the first time I guess it was Campus Life, we talked to Marcel Reed, and you asked me if I thought he was good, and I said I thought he was great. I thought he was a better passer than people give him out to be, and he's so far proven me right. Knock on wood. So yeah, I think they look good, and I think Le'Veon Moss looks good enough. Beating Auburn is a good win, even if it's at home, and Auburn is kind of getting towards garbage can levels of things going wrong. But
yeah, I mean, this feels really crazy to say because I don't think it was like per se the toughest opponent, but I do think Indiana right now might have the best win of the season. Like that's 73. I talked about this last week. Like I can't remember the last time I just watched a team get their butt whooped that bad and like a ranked v ranked. And I think then we talked last week. Well, now Illinois is not ranked, but then they went out and beat USC this week. Like granted, I think we also mentioned I thought the USC was a little overrated last week, but like as you start getting more of these combinations into the season, it makes it more difficult. But like I can't remember ever seeing like a 70-3 or whatever, or 73-0 or whatever.
63-10. Yeah, it was impressive. What they do offensively is really pretty impressive. And Iowa, especially at Iowa, is a very good win. Yeah. So they're stacking good wins. And you know who they play next? Michigan. They have a bye this week, and then they play Oregon. Oregon. At Oregon. That'll be a great game.
I wonder what we'll have to ask somebody at C2C that can give us a line on that, what they make that as right now. I'd be interested.
I'm not good enough to be doing that. I can tell you when I think something feels way off. Like, did you know? I did this with Ethan on Balling with My Bestie. What do you think the Notre Dame against Boise State line is?
It's at Boise.
It's at Notre Dame. I'm sorry.
It's at Notre Dame. Notre Dame 7.5.
Ethan said like 13.5-ish. It's 20.5.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Isn't that wild? It was 19.5 and 20.5 are the two that I saw. Either way, that's a huge line to me. Like that's where I'm like, whoa, that feels way off, but I can't give you one out of thin air. But yeah. That's a wild one.
Yeah.
Indiana at Oregon is interesting. And I think those are the matchups that I think are kind of fun because Oregon's like this big giant to me, and Indiana's kind of like this kind of hated because Signetti. There's a couple fun players, rooting interest for fantasy purposes for me, and then it's like it feels little David and Goliath, even though Indiana is going to be very well ranked by them,
and allegedly has like a ton of money floating around, which I was not really aware of.
Home field, it's probably the home field money.
Oh, well, then I'm not buying another sweatshirt from them. I'll buy, give me you drop me your other favorite college apparel places in the comments here, folks. We're moving on here. As I sit here in my Citronauts sweatshirt here this evening. Oklahoma, we skipped over them at 5. You have them at 5. I have them at 6. I'm really interested to see how they do without Mateer over the next couple of weeks and what that looks like. My biggest worry is that they rush him back.
For Texas,
it's like right, not ready.
I think based on what everybody was saying was Mateer should be ready. If it's like based on the timetable, he'd be ready the week after Texas, which is just awful timing. But they might feel the urge to have to push it depending on how Hawkins plays.
If you're undefeated going into that game, I think you can afford to sit him. And I think that's the calculus that has to start happening that maybe college coaches aren't quite used to yet.
It's not as must win as it used to be.
Yeah.
Because they don't have to make the SEC championship. They don't, they can play a little strategery here and not worry about one loss. That's a good point.
Exactly. Because they'll have some other opportunities to get some decent wins. I mean, they play Ole Miss, they play Tennessee, they play Alabama, they play I think that's really it now. Oh, LSU and Missouri as well. So like they go
and they've already beaten Michigan. So like, do you have a little bit of some, cachet in terms of name recognition and on the win?
I guess on the flip side of that, though, you're saying like you maybe can't afford to punt a game they'll get a feel for what Hawkins can do this week. I know it's Kent State, but I think they'll kind of.
Is Texas against Oklahoma the 11th or the 18th?
Yeah, it's the 11th. It's the way they didn't play this past week, and then they have Kent State this week, and then
they only get the one game. That'll be interesting. Yeah, if they were playing more of a real competition, you'd get a better feel. Like if they played Auburn, let's say, right, instead of a couple weeks ago, they played them in a week. You get an idea of like what Hawkins looks like, because Hawkins last year was dumpster fire awful against Texas, but like reasonably.
I still think they'll get a feel against Kent State. I think as a viewer, we'll be able to know by the end of the first quarter if they're going to rush Mateer back the next week or not. I have a sneaking suspicion.
Oh, boy.
So I just don't think he's that level of a player. Now, Arbuckle has worked magic, so maybe he can do some stuff. But Texas, maybe not the gamble that you want to take against them either. Texas Tech at 7 for us. Ole Miss at 8 after, stacking another somewhat impressive win, I think. And we both have them. We have them 7th and 8th. Alabama at 9 and Georgia at 10 between the two of us. And I do think you come into this interesting area where do you rank Florida State versus Alabama versus Georgia versus Tennessee? Because that string of teams has all played each other and I for now am choosing to still respect the Florida State win. And I actually have Florida State the spot above Alabama, who I have the spot above Georgia, who I have the spot above Tennessee, I think, more or less.
Tennessee, you have at 16, but you have them above. I think probably a little bit of an oversight for me by having Florida State at 18. But I don't know. It's always so hard. I will give Bama a little bit of a benefit of the doubt strictly because I think if you beat Georgia at Georgia, you are a very good team. And I have said already that I think Georgia doesn't feel like the same Georgia as always, or the last 5 years or whatever. But that's still very impressive. And I'm feeling, Matt's not here, so that's probably a good thing. But I think Ty Simpson has proven himself to be at least a very good college quarterback. They got 3 great receivers. They have a great left tackle that can catch the football. They have a lot of good things going for them that, to me, makes me think that if they played neutral field against Florida State right now, that Bama would win. But, you also have to give Florida State the credit. They did win. So I probably should have moved FSU up a little bit higher than 18. But I still would say Alabama over them, which is funny. It's just how it goes sometimes.
That's fair. I feel like we don't have enough permutations to make the head-to-head impossible yet. So for me, I'm going to respect it at least to some level until
3 weeks from now, and then we get the circle of death, right?
Correct. And then at that point, I'm a little more willing to play fast and loose with the head-to-head stuff. But yeah, I felt like I had to right now. So I did do that. So we have Alabama 9, Georgia 10. Then we have that Texas, Florida State, Penn State, groups that have a loss, but have generally looked pretty good this year. I don't find that much differentiating Texas and Penn State right now. I have them at 12 and 13, and I think, they're Spider-Man pointing at the other Spider-Man meme right now, sort of.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird mix to begin with because Georgia Tech's in that same area, LSU's in that same area. It definitely feels like there's a huge tier break after that 9-10 of Bama, if you want to include FSU, because some of these Georgia Tech barely got by Wake, LSU is battling some Nussmeier rumored injuries. It just doesn't look all that great. They lost to Ole Miss, right? So you do get a lot of these teams that you don't feel super great about in this range.
Yeah, 100%. You mentioned, Missouri, Georgia Tech, LSU, Tennessee at 17, Iowa State at 18. This is still, in my opinion, like the fraud alert of all fraud alerts here. Just sitting here staring us in the face.
Like they keep winning. They keep winning, and they have some things that are interesting and an experienced coach. I don't know. I need them to lose just so I have a good reason to drop them. But for the time being, who are you putting above them?
That's the you look at who we have right below them: BYU, Notre Dame, and I know we've already beaten our Notre Dame differences to death here, more or less. USF, Vanderbilt, Utah, Arizona State, Virginia to round out the top 25. You have Virginia over Michigan? Is it just because of the win this weekend? Is that?
I docked Michigan. I'm gonna be real. I still am worried about what this offense will do against real opponents, and they'll be able to show us at some point. But yeah, I put Virginia, and I'll give them a little bit of street creds. I'm not totally biased at all points in my life. They had a great win.
Yeah,
so
that's fair. I'm not buying Virginia the same that I'm really not buying Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt is also like real fraudy right now.
Fraudy.
Yeah.
What about Arizona State? I have them in terms of the bottom tier of teams. I have them at 19. You have them unranked, aka 26th.
Yeah, I mean, I would have them in like the others receiving votes if I was able to, rank beyond top 25. Why am I supposed to be impressed by beating TCU?
They beat Baylor too.
I don't know. They don't have like a win to really hang their hat on at this point. Either.
They have
you got to stack
solid wins.
Yeah, you got to stack a bunch of solid wins, I think.
They have a coach that I think is one of the best in the country. They have a lot of returning players. And so I'm willing to give them, they went to Mississippi State and laid an egg, I'm willing to give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt in the 19-20 range. I mean, otherwise you're basically saying like Utah, Vanderbilt, USF. Like if you think USF would beat Arizona State right now on a neutral field,
they have better wins.
Their wins are Miami and Florida. So Miami is the best win. I'm sorry, they didn't beat Miami. Who did they beat? They beat Florida and who? Boise State.
Yeah.
Are those wins really that much better than Baylor and TCU?
I think Florida is a better win than either TCU or.
I think DJ Lagway is so bad that I just don't know if I can say that that's a better win. He's the worst of the quarterbacks of the group. I think he's worse than Maddox Madsen.
Florida might win 4 games this year, but I think
to speak real SEC right now.
But they're going to be a real thorn, and I don't think anyone's going to be blowing them out. The way they play, the defense is real good. I just think they're pretty good. I'm not saying, I
at some point, if you're really pretty good, you win more than 4 games. It's just kind of and they do have a lot of good recruiting stars. I think when it comes down to it, I'm not encouraged by their coach at all. Napier to me I think everybody would agree is whatever.
Yeah.
And I think amongst those 4 teams, Lagway is the worst. I would take Maddox Madsen in a college football game over DJ Lagway without a doubt. Sam Levitt to me way better than Lagway. Give me one thing Lagway does better than Levitt. See over the line?
He's bigger. I say he's bigger.
That's probably it. I put a ton of stock in quarterback play and quarterback value. So I can, that's maybe partially why sometimes I'm really bad at capping, sports capping and stuff like that. But Dillingham, Tyson, Levitt, some of those defensive players, it's hard for me to say that USF would beat them.
It's fair enough. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week's show, guys. Apologies to Kirk and Peter. And yes, I'll shout him out now just for you. We'll get them rescheduled. We just kind of ran out of time here. Check out everything over at campus2canton.com. Use our promo code campus, the number 2 Canton over at Home Field Apparel. And we'll be back next week, guys. Good night and good luck.